Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Patchy here once again with another video on just the Arrowverse as a whole, but it's a mixture of The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow. Bit of a combo course, is that what we would call it? I don't know, something like that. But anyway, of course, we all love Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne. We love to hate him, but then also just love him in the same way. It's a bit of a weird relationship. Not toxic, just a bit weird. And most of us expect him to appear on The Flash or be on The Flash in some capacity, shape, or form, whichever way you want to put it. But of course, if we chicka rewind the clock back a bit, just a bit, we can look back at the time in which Eobard Thawne, aka Reverse Flash, was on Legends of Tomorrow in season 2 when he was going about some more nefarious activities through time, dealing with different things with the Legion of Doom, consisting some other well-known villains from the Flash and Arrow, such as like Malcolm Merlin, Damien Dark, ya boy, Gorilla Grodd, Captain Cold, all that stuff. Now, this version of Eobard Thawne was one that was able to evade his inevitable fate and, destiny of death, thanks to Barry, who, of course, created the Flashpoint timeline and just created this whole potential for Eobard. And Eobard was trying to rewrite his destiny and live without having to evade anyone or anything. But of course, if you watched Legend of Tomorrow Season 2, you would know that Eobard Thawne wasn't really successful overall, and was eventually caught and slain by the Black Flash. But that was the last of him on Legends. That's the last time we saw him because, well, he was dead. He was killed by Black Flash. He was gone. He was a Gonski, or a goner, whichever way you want to put it. But that recently changed, sort of, for a temporary amount of time. So over the past couple of weeks, we had Matt Letcher reprise his role as the original Eobard Thawne, which of course had been seen on The Flash previously, but as I said earlier, was a main feature throughout season 2 of Legends of Tomorrow, which does feel like it was a lifetime ago. And this is just a bonus thing. Of course, I'm sure most people who either watch my videos or on social media, on Instagram, or on Twitter or anything like that would have seen the photos of Matt Letcher in Vancouver. And of course, that was when he was filming these episodes of Legends of Tomorrow, which I'd assume were done over like a week and a half, maybe 2 week period or something. So he wasn't filming Flash, he was filming Legends, which I think we all knew once this news came out like a month ago or something like that. Now, of course, we knew he was showing up in 2 episodes because that news came out, but we weren't exactly sure like how he was showing up, as well as like the purpose of his appearances, because he was in 2 episodes. It wasn't just like a 1 episode little guest role or cameo. It was 2 episodes. It's like, well, what's the focus of these 2 episodes? Why is he there for two? I think everyone was a bit, maybe not confused, but definitely curious. Now, the second episode of these two aired around a week ago, maybe exactly a week ago, depending on when this goes up, maybe just after or just before, one of the three, sorry. And I left this upload and this time just so I could title the video accordingly to what happened, so it wasn't like spoiling the episode a day after it aired or something like that. So the episode's been out around a week, whether it's just before or just after, and it's long enough to watch it if you actually cared about the episode. But you might be looking at the title and wondering, like, well, wait, what the hell's going on? What the hell went on in these 2 episodes? Well, let's go through it all, as well as explain what could be happening going forward potentially. So, in Legend of Tomorrow this season, we were introduced to the Fixed Point, which was a bar or pub, whichever way you want to put it, that time travelers would visit and wait at while waiting to try and stop World War One, sorry, from happening. However, what had happened following Eobard Thawne's death at the hands of Black Flash, all the way back at the end of Legends of Tomorrow season 2, is that Eobard was brought back to life by the Time Wraiths, which we of course saw in season 2 of The Flash, while also being stripped of his powers. So he was no longer a speedster at this point. So really, he's not even the Reverse Flash in this episode. He's just Eobard Thawne, formerly Reverse Flash, formerly evil, maniacal speedster killing people type of dude. So he's just Eobard at this point, which is a different character, which, we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, after all this happened, he was given this like watch of sorts that would have him constantly taking part in a time loop. So he would live the same day over and over and over because it was his job, but he was also allowed the ability to like freeze time or freeze at any point in time. And Eobard was placed in 1914. Can't remember the specific date. It's like June something. I think it was June something or July something. But it was in 1914, and it's just before the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. No, not the band, but Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who his assassination leads to the kickstarting of World War One. So Eobard's job is just to stop any of these time travelers from stopping this assassination from happening, so World War One can occur as it did. Now, the interesting thing with this Eobard is that he was completely different. He completely did a 180 on his thoughts on multiple things, but mainly for this episode and what we consider, legends and just what it deals with. Eobard changed his thoughts on the timeline and everything like that, thinking that it should not be altered and it should not be changed in any way. And Eobard just went about his days in this time loop like the exact same way every single day. However, Sarah Lance from the Legends does show up and is trying to actually prevent the assassination of Franz Ferdinand in order to sort of play into the Legends' plans against the villains for this season, who I'll just explain are these like robot android versions of the Legends that are evil. It's a bit wild, it's a bit weird, but it's Legends. I mean, what do you expect? But anyway, Eobard and Sarah do make a deal after Eobard sort of explains his situation to her, and he agrees to delay Franz Ferdinand's assassination in order for Sarah to attract the villains and do some heroics. Now, long story short, the robot legends do turn up, and Eobard is actually killed. Yes, killed via being stabbed by the robot version of Sarah Lance, who, of course, he just thought was the real Sarah. Like, he's just sort of laughing and, not laughing, but just, he's not scared or anything. He just thinks it's Sarah, but then he gets stabbed because of, the robot Sarah and Sarah look the same for the most part. With Eobard actually telling the real Sarah, who finds him just before he dies, to keep the fixed point intact before he eventually does die. So Eobard is killed in this episode, which I didn't think was going to happen going into this. I thought we are just going to be meeting Eobard and a point where he is or everything like that, which we do, but I didn't think he would die. And this did anger a lot of people. A lot of people were really angry that this happened. And don't get me wrong, I was at first. I was like, why would they do this? What was the point of this, to bring him back just to kill him? But then I just thought, like, I just sat down, like, well, I didn't, like, sit in my, like, royal armchair with us, with a pipe and a monocle on, and come to my realization. I just thought afterwards, when I was just thinking about the episode, I was like, well, he was already dead in our eyes prior to this episode. This particular version of Eobard was already dead. I mean, we didn't think this version was coming back. The one that dealt with the Legends in season 2 and was, well, killed by Black Flash. We didn't think he was coming back because he was killed. We just thought, okay, well, that version's dead. We'll just get another version of Reverse Flash if he's going to show up again. So really, there's no change. I think maybe the disappointment would come from if you went into this episode thinking that maybe it would spur something going forward, or they'll do something really interesting in the episode with Eobard Thawne, which I think they do something interesting with him. It just doesn't mean anything going forward. And I can completely understand that angle, because to be honest, I went into the episode thinking that maybe they set up where this version goes going forward, but I understand why they killed him, because he was an expendable version, because he's one that we didn't even know existed still. He was brought back to life by the time wraiths and was in this random point of reality that we didn't even know of before these 2 episodes. So there's no real change. The only real change you could argue is the fact that Matt Letcher came back. He came back and played Eobard Thawne. Sure, it's not the Eobard Thawne we want him to play, because that would involve a yellow suit and some glowing red eyes and some evil motives, but we got him back. And I think that should be just something to take from this episode. So the door could be open going forward, because I was having a thing, like, you would have to think that the Legends people would have to maybe ask Eric Wallace, who runs the Flash, if they could use Eobard. But then again, they did a whole version with that version of the character more than he'd been on the Flash. So maybe no question had to be asked, in regards to using the character and everything like that. Like, we know when, like, Jay Garrick appeared on Stargirl, Eric Wallace had to be consulted about it. But maybe because this was a Legends, like a version of the character that was completely derived from the events of Legends in season 2, that they didn't have to be any conversation. And also, it was a character that was already dead, as I said before. So it's not like you're killing a potential character for the Flash to use, because the Flash would use a different version if they were going to use him. Now, what can we take from this, going forward? Like I said, the only thing you can really take from going forward from the specific episode is the fact that Matt Letcher came back. And if we look at the Flash, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but the Wells version of Reverse Flash that we have isn't meant to be from our timeline. Like, he was meant to be erased, and he was going to be erased until they took his powers away, which keeps him a bit, solidified in this timeline. But he's still not the version of Eobard, because he's from the different timeline. So it makes you question, is the Reverse Flash and like main Eobard of this timeline meant to be one that looks like Matt Letcher now? And if so, are we potentially going to get a storyline where there's two Reverse Flashes? I mean, I think that'd actually be a cool storyline where there's two different versions, because I think no matter what, they can't win, because there's people that like the Wellsabard version more. I'm in that camp. I prefer the Wells version of Eobard Thawne. I think Tom Cavanagh, and maybe that's just because we've had him so much, or had him more, so I'm so used to it, and I just, everything like that. But Matt Letcher does an awesome Eobard Thawne as well. So imagine if you had both of them in a storyline. Now, I'm not saying, that they team up or anything, but it could just be or maybe they could, or maybe there's a bit of a rivalry between the two. I'm not too sure. But you could do a storyline with both of them. I don't know if you can do one after the other. Like, the first half of the season's the Wellsabard version, and the second half is the original one played by Matt Letcher. I don't know if you could do that. I think you probably either have both of them both of them in the storyline, or just do one. Don't have, like, I don't think you can have like two different storylines with one each following each other. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a tough one, but I think heading out of this Legends episode, I can understand why people were disappointed, but the more I look at it, the more I understand why they did it, because he was an expendable character anyway, because he was already dead, so they just brought him back to life to kill him, which you can say is a bit of a cop-out, because they used him to advertise the episode, and they could have really used anyone because he didn't have his powers. It's not like they needed the speeds to powers. They could have used anyone. They could have gotten a legend that had died or something like that for one episode or two episodes. It didn't have to be Eobard Thawne, but maybe they used him because he changed his minds about the timeline and everything like that, which I can understand as well. But yeah, I said I would make a video talking about his episodes appearances if it was worth talking about, and I think there was enough worth talking about here. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens going forward, because Matt Letcher did come back, so it's not like he's like angry at the Arrowverse, so the door is somewhat open. But let's see what happens going forward. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it, shows support. Let me know in the comment section down below. Did you watch the episode? Were you disappointed? Or are you just hearing the explanation through this video? If so, are you disappointed as well? Do you think it opens the door for anything? Any theories, predictions, everything like that? Let me know in the comment section down below. Always curious to read what you guys have to say. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.